Hello, I'm Marcus Railton, and welcome back to the second series of the Scots Care podcast. Scots Care is the only charity dedicated to helping disadvantaged Scots in London through a range of support, including financial grants, advocacy, counselling and sheltered housing for older Scots, job coaching, social events, befriending and support for children and families. The charity's been running for 400 years to help break the cycle of poverty experienced by some Scots. In the new series, I'll be chatting with guests from all walks of life, from celebrities and authors, athletes and actors, business entrepreneurs to academics, all with one thing in common: Scots heritage, and they enjoy a good blether. It's a huge privilege to welcome Hollywood actress and star of Doctor Who, Michelle Gomez, to the podcast. Michelle became known to many of us back in the early 2000s when she appeared in the sitcom The Green Wing alongside the likes of Stephen Mangan and Olivia Colman and so many other hugely talented actors. Since then, she's rarely been out of work and is the first woman to play the Master in Doctor Who alongside Peter Capaldi, who's also from Glasgow. If you're not a Doctor Who fan, you may have seen her in the US TV show The Flight Attendant, where she plays a rather dastardly assassin. This is on Sky, or in our house, Now TV. We caught up over Zoom from Michelle's New York apartment. We chatted about that unusual Glaswegian surname, Gomez. We talked about her overnight success that took years and involved many stints working in bars and restaurants. At one point, she even considered becoming a teacher. Michelle's married to fellow actor Jack Davenport, and they have a son, Harry, born in America. We chatted about their decision that they took just last year to become American citizens, naturalised citizens, I think that was the expression she used, and their reasons behind that. And of course, we talked about Doctor Who. So here we go, on the Scots Care podcast, with the absolutely inimitable Michelle Gomez.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for doing this.
Yes, of course. I'm happy to be here. There.
You look very summery.
It's quite hot here.
Where are you in? I read you'd moved to Connecticut. Is that right?
It's Connecticut.
Connecticut.
CT, but no, I live in New York.
Oh, do you? Yeah, I got married in New York. Becky and I get married in Central Park, so it's always kind of special place for me. I really like it there.
It's a good city. When did you get married?
That's such a female question.
Is it?
When's my wedding anniversary? 2011? 2012? 2011?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
She's a lucky lady.
Oh yeah, Becky. We got married in Central Park by a rabbi who played a ukulele. It was phenomenally hot in that kind of oppressive New York summer heat. I think it can get very hot here. Yeah, that's why everybody leaves in the summer. Yeah, I've seen that on the telly. Yeah,
heat and the tourists, we all get out of the city.
Yeah, I was just watching you with my son on TikTok. Because Noah, who's 15, was saying, who are you speaking to? And I said, it's Michelle Gomez. And I says, because TikTok is the cultural resource for all teenagers these days. So, and I showed him the Mary Queen of Scots sketch that's on TikTok, and it's I hadn't seen it before, and it's brilliant. It's so you, and it's so dry, and it's so Scottish, and he's born and brought up in London. He couldn't understand a word of it, which is I loved that. I thought it was so funny.
That was Psycho Bitches.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah,
great show. I went from Mary Queen of Scots to Margaret Thatcher.
Did you? That totally has. I will have to look it up.
In fact, that Maggie Thatcher that I did got the front page of, it was either one of the rags, like Daily Express or Daily Mail, and it said Michelle Gomez is horrific. It was one of my best reviews. I think it's the only time I've ever made the front page.
Well, they'll say to you horrific in a nasty way rather than, there's, not many.
They were very upset at my reading of Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, I have to look at that.
Yes, you should look that one up. In fact, everybody should look.
I was watching Gillian Anderson do Margaret Thatcher recently on, what was it? Oh, was it The Crown? She was Margaret Thatcher in?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, she was very good at that.
Well, you should check out my Margaret Thatcher. It's quite a stretch. I was like, how does a wait, you really sure you want a Glaswegian to play Margaret Thatcher? I was like, okay.
I love that. Let's go back and talk about your roots, because Gomez is an unusual Glaswegian name. Where does that come from?
Well, originally it's from Madeira, Portugal. And the family moved across to Montserrat in the Caribbean about 250 years ago, a long time ago. And then the volcano started to get a little funky. It's very active and still is. So they moved to Antigua and settled there. And then my dad was sent across to Edinburgh for an education on his own, on a boat. I think he was about 11 years old. So he went from Antigua, he was being taught by nuns on the beach, to Fetus in Edinburgh.
Wow, that's a cultural handbrake
Yes.
term, isn't it?
That's some whiplash there. Yeah.
Can you imagine getting off the boat in Leith and whenever that was, the 50s or 60s, and thinking, bloody hell.
From the beach, from Half Moon Bay to Leith.
Yeah, and
He
not the Leith of today.
He loved it. He always claimed it was his biggest adventure, which of course for a boy of 11 years old it would have been. I think it was weeks on that boat, and then I have a picture of him in a kilt. I think of him landing the beach, and but no, there wasn't a lot of tartan or shortbread at my house after school. It was all rum and calypso. Harry Belafonte featured heavily. But we all love Stanley Baxter.
So is your mum Scottish then? 100% Scottish? Did she?
No, not exactly. Not 100%. She was sent up during the war from Kennington in London.
Yeah.
To Glasgow as a girl, to be safe.
But you grew up in Glasgow because you went to Shawlands Academy, didn't you?
Yes. I'm Glasgow born and bred.
And were you always performing? Were you doing drama at school then?
Was Shawlands Academy?
Yeah, because I know you went on to do the.
Yeah, there was a lot of. I wasn't a great student. There's a lot of mucking about. But when I got to Shawlands Academy, there was a teacher. I had a lot of energy, and a lot, and which made it hard for me to kind of focus and be, a grade A student. I was always pissing about in the background. But then I did meet this wonderful teacher called Elizabeth McNaughton, who was head of English, and she saw something in me. And then I started to get into, I guess, drama with a capital or small d, with that amazing teacher. And I kind of could funnel all of my crazy energy into something that I could focus it into more.
And was it her that encouraged you to apply for was it called the Conservatoire there, or was it called Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama?
The Conservatoire sounds so poncy. No, it was the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, but they wouldn't let me in. So I went back again the second year to audition again, and they were like, no, still no. But we do have a teaching course starting, and I was like, oh, that might be a good idea. So, like, if it doesn't work out as an actor, which it didn't for a long time, I could be a teacher. So I was a teacher for 2 minutes.
But it's funny who gets into that course and who doesn't get into that course. I remember years ago, speaking to Tony Curran about it, and Tony Curran is he's fantastic. He's in so many things, and I remember him telling me that he auditioned and didn't get in. So, I was never too sure what they were looking for. They
were looking for. I think at that time it was different. It was a different time, and when I finally did get in, I was in a class with a lot of English people. So I think what they tried to do with us back then was sort of take that very kind of like Scottishness or Glaswegian, which is very different. It's another thing. We're all our own unique Scots, But if you're a Ouija, I think that's the most Scottish you could be. Everybody's probably arguing with me now, but that's fine. Because you don't really want to come from Edinburgh, because it's kind of like, well, it's kind of like a beautiful actress with no talent. It's got the castle, then that's about it. But yeah, so I'm very proud of my Glaswegian heritage, and but I just couldn't get rid of my voice. Like I couldn't. I remember they really tried to sort of train it out of me.
Yeah.
And then I'd run it, and then I moved to London, and because I heard that the streets were paved with gold, and they weren't. But I did. I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did make that push to leave, because then I wouldn't have met my husband, and I wouldn't have had the life that I've had probably if I'd stayed in Glasgow. It would have been a very different life. I'm sure it would have been a good one, but very different. It just wasn't my path. But when I got to London, I felt even more Scottish. I felt even more of a Ouija. But still, I wouldn't get rid of my accent. I still have it. It's probably softened off a bit now, but
yeah. I think that happens to people like us who do leave Scotland. I think I'm more Scottish now than I was when I was in Scotland. But when you moved to London, how gradual or instant were you able to become an actress and pay for your lifestyle by doing acting jobs? Was it overnight, or was it gradual, or did you have to wait tables, or were you able to convert quite quickly?
Long time to go into this phase. So I couldn't play the ingenue. I couldn't play, nobody was casting this face as a young woman. They didn't know what to do with me. So I waited I was a waitress for years and years and years. And I also I found other ways to make money. That I used to do these. Remember the murder mystery dinner things?
Yes. Yes.
You go to on the Queen Mary actually, and I would just be having dinner and then sort of die in my own tray, my main course, and then everybody would have to solve the mystery, solve the murder. So there was that. There was murder mystery. There was a karaoke presenter at one point. So I just I used to clean toilets. Cleaned the toilets at Babbity Bousters. I waited table and I cleaned toilets. Babbity Bousters was this tiny little hotel in the Merchant City in Glasgow, and I think it had 6 bedrooms. So I would clean them. I do anything I could.
I used to drink in Babbity Bousters. I remember going there years ago. It must have been early 90s.
I served you. It was 10 deep. It was always 10 deep.
Yeah.
And I had the Cayley band going, and we would serve haggis to tourists and laugh. But yeah, it took a long time. I've had a lot of rejections and still do. It's still.
That's interesting. I was wondering, because I wanted to ask you that. I wondered, as a person, how pragmatic you are. And my friend Duncan is an actor, and he was in Andor and the Star Wars thing. But then I remember him saying to me when he got the part in Rogue One, he thought he'd made it. He said, I'm in Star Wars, I made it. And then he said, and then I sat on my arse for a year and didn't, and I just wondered whether are you relatively pragmatic about that? And also being, you're married to an actor, you're married to Jack Davenport. So are you kind of down with when you don't work? Are you able to relax into it and say it will come along, or do you have moments of panic?
No, there's not a lot of panic. Not at my age now. It's just too exhausting. I learned how to use my energy in more productive ways. It's just part of the job, right? And if you don't lean into that, the biggest part is not taking any of it personally, and being really grateful when you do get a job and really enjoying it, but always knowing this is going to end, and so just being as present as you can for that experience, have as much fun as you can, and work as hard as you can. And you over the years, decades now, you sort of build a professional network and a community, and so you're just I have a kid and a dog, you hear him now, and a big life, and so it's, whilst acting is still super important to me, it's my profession and I'm proud of it, and craft that I've worked hard at. I also have lots of other things going on in my life as well. So I guess I don't really have time for panic.
Scots Care, supporting Scots away from home in London.
And let me ask you about playing bad guys, because you're very good at playing bad guys. And I think this is, we've got to talk about Doctor Who. And I was chatting to the film critic, a guy called Will Jordan. He's a thriller writer and a film critic. And he was talking about bad guys, writing bad guys and writing good guys. And he says bad guys are more interesting. They're more nuanced. They're more complicated. They're better character to play. Do you get more fun out of playing bad guys? Because when you played Missy, I mean, she does some terrible things.
Does she not?
You did play Missy. Were you in Doctor Who?
I was asking for it, wasn't she? She was asking for it. I mean, she deserved. I mean, there was a hole, and she needed to be pushed into it. It's very difficult to act with Jenna Coleman also, because she's so incredibly beautiful. So she needed to be thrown down a hole occasionally.
But you also brought this comedic dryness to the role. I thought you brought a kind of comedic dryness to it. You brought a something that was very Michelle Gomez to it. And I think the thing that came across, and I might be imagining it, but I kind of imagined that you and the Doctor could almost have been friends in another life, because
we were historically. The Master and the Doctor were great friends. And then there was a friendship that kind of turned into a frenemy-ship. And so I sort of lent into the fact that I absolutely adored Peter Capaldi. It just made me laugh, and I loved his big, serious face. And I loved making him giggle and slapping his face and doing all sorts of things. I just loved playing opposite Peter Capaldi. And so you're only ever as good as the person you're playing opposite. And so I got the chance to work with Peter, and we genuinely liked each other. And so that kind of, I think, very naturally kind of led through into the energy that was between us. And also Stephen Moffat, another good Glaswegian. I mean, that was quite Ouija heavy, actually, that season, because there was Stephen, Peter, and I, all from Glasgow. And so it was fun to play with that dynamic of, are they friends? Are they? It was a bit more interesting, probably, for me. Maybe not for the audience. But
no, I think it was. I think it's a sign of really good writing when we see that.
Best writing, Stephen Moffat. Oh,
yeah.
Magnificent writing. And he wrote to my strengths, for sure.
Yeah. Have you ever read any of the Ian Rankin books, the Rebus books?
Yes, yeah.
Because especially in the later ones, I always think it kind of strikes me there's this kind of frenemy thing between Rebus and Big Jer at the end of their lives, where they're almost like two sides of the same coin. They hate each other and they need each other at the same time.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very codependent. And did you ever see John Hannah's Rebus?
Yeah. A long time ago, yes.
Because I was in that with John for a mini mole.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's good. That was a lovely new job. John.
He's very good. And then Ken Stott took over, and then I've not watched the new one yet, where they've kind of rebooted it and done a young Rebus.
Have they? Oh, I want to check it out. I'll have a look at it.
It's very good. It's very good. It's kind of a reimagining, because he is young, but they've not done it in like the 70s or something like that. They've done it in present day.
Oh, they have? All right, okay.
Yes. So it kind of monkeys with your head a little bit if you've read
books. Anything that starts with good writing means it continues to have that potential to reboot, and come back, because it's so rich and there's a lot there. So I'm not surprised to hear that that's coming.
When you left Doctor Who, was it your decision to kind of call time on that? Because it's quite a difficult decision from an actor's point of view, I would have thought, because it's financially rewarding and it's a precarious profession. Maybe another 2 or 3 years would be quite nice. That'll Get a car,
no,
pay the mortgage.
honestly, a real gift in life is always knowing when to leave the party. That's one of my most treasured tools in my toolbox. I always know when to leave the party. Apparently, you should leave the party before you really want to. That's the best time to leave the party. And it had been 3 years, and I was living in LA at the time, so the commute was quite a lot. Because once you get from LA to London, and then you've got to get to Cardiff. Oh my gosh, that was a lot. Because Harry was really young then, still a baby, so I lived on planes. And so yeah, it just felt like I just kind of like, when it's time. And I didn't really I got very protective over the Capaldi Gomez duo as well. Like, I didn't want to be the master to anyone else. I didn't want to be the master to another doctor. That's how I felt back then.
And I think when you took it on, did you know much about Doctor Who? Because you were really buying into it. It's not just a program; it's a subculture, isn't it?
Well, as I say, I was living in LA at that time, and I had been offered another role in that season, and in the season before. Anyway, at some point, I can't remember the timeline now because I don't have a TARDIS, but I had been offered another part, and I couldn't do it. I physically couldn't get there, and so I wrote to Stephen Moffat, and I've said that, I'm sure lots of people have heard me say this, but I just was gutted I couldn't be there, and I was really worried that I'd never be invited on again. So if ever he needed a blue-eyed, high cheekbone villain, I'm your man. And I didn't hear anything for a few months because I didn't expect to. I was just like throwing something out into the universe. And then my agent called and said, do you want to sit down? I've got some news. And I was like, what is it? And she said, they want you to play the master in Doctor Who. And I was like, well, I'm a Doctor Who fan, and I know that I don't know how that could possibly work because it's always been played by, a man, and a man from the sort of theatrical, like a theatrical stalwart, like somebody that's, it was Derek Jacobi, and it was Rich Delgado, and it was Roger Delgado, and I was like, how? Okay, and I really thought she was having a joke, and she wasn't. And then I got really protective over it because I wasn't going to tell anybody because I was wanting it to be a big reveal for the fans. And I didn't. I told my husband, and my agent knew, and that was it. So I had to wander around with a strange smile on my face for about a year.
Wow, that's a long time. That's a huge...
It was a long time. It was a long time. Yeah. And when we filmed that last scene, it was at St. Paul's Cathedral, and there were hundreds of people turned up, a lot of people turned up. And they had these tiny little, what are they called? These little microphones that are like, anyway, there was a lot of these little tiny little microphones being held by various platforms. So we couldn't really say the real lines.
Okay.
So I had to kind of whisper that,
for fear of the script being revealed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's really interesting. Ah. And did you still get a good reception? Have you ever been to the Comic Cons or the fan sites?
Oh, yes. The San Diego Comic Con and the New York Comic Con and Atlanta, Aberdeen. I did a Comic Con just a couple of months ago. My first Scottish Comic Con.
Oh, wow.
Convention, I don't know, about 6 weeks ago, quite recently.
See, that must be quite different from being in a television program to standing across, sitting across a table from, staring right into the people who think it's, the best things in sliced bread. They have a loyal... best things in sliced bread.
Yeah, I love sliced bread. But it is, for the fans and for me, it's the best thing ever. I'm still in a place of real gratitude, or disbelief that I got to play the Master because I grew up with Doctor Who, and I was just like, so it is the best thing.
So who was your Doctor Who? Tom Baker and then Peter Davison?
Yeah, it was Baker. Yeah.
Yeah, that was me too. Tom Baker, a bit of, and then maybe a bit of, what's his name? Colin. Who was the one after Davison? Oh, I can't remember. Colin. It'll come to me.
Anxiety is an emotion we all experience from time to time. There are so many little steps you can take to help manage anxiety, but sometimes that's not enough. ScotsCare offers clients counselling sessions for these times much faster than through the NHS. Please contact us if we can help you.
I think when you first came on my radar was with Greenwing, and I loved it. I really loved Greenwing because I thought it was a mold-breaking show. It was like, the little interstitials of the music, and everyone in it was as bonkers as each other. And your character, Sue White, was particularly bonkers. And when you read that, did you think, because I can't imagine anyone, I spend a lot of time thinking, I wonder who else could have played these parts, but I can't imagine anyone ever knocking it out the park the way you did with that, because your character was quite unhinged.
Well, I mean, it was the end of a tax year for Channel 4, I think, and they just wanted to keep their funding, so they threw a load of actors and writers in a room and workshopped us all together, and Greenwing was born. And I can't really remember, but I think it was really meant to be just one episode, and then I'm not sure if I've got that right. But I guess what I'm saying is we didn't realize it was going to be such a huge hit, and I think it's because at the time each character was written so closely to whatever we were doing in the rehearsal space at that point. So we were just kind of free to play and lark about and see what would come. And it was written beautifully, and we ended up with this great show that was original because we'd been given the time to start from the ground up, and just kind of create something together. So that's why I think you felt that real sense of community with us. It was a very tight family.
That's really fascinating to learn that, because that's exactly how it comes across. I mean, there was yourself, Julian Rintutt, Tamsin Greig, Stephen Mangan, Pippa Haywood, Mark Heap, Olivia Colman, and everybody inhabited their characters so beautifully. And you only got 2 series out of it. I wonder if it was a victim of its own success, because there was so many of you went on to do other things that just became too difficult to put all these people together again.
It seems to be a trend in Britain that you only do 2 seasons of things, or maybe 3. It's not like in America, which is a bit more of a factory. I think the real strength in Britain is that you come out with something wonderful and original, and when it's done. I mean, I don't know who else we could have offended by the time we'd finished. I was riding a camel down a working hospital in Basingstoke at one point, a real live camel. So it's like, how far do you go? And yes, I guess that's one way of looking at it. We could have been a victim of our own success because it launched all of our careers. And we did go on to do, all of us went on to do great things and have these wonderful lives. I think really because Greenwing was such a springboard for us.
And then, as you said, that's the difference between the UK and the USA to a certain extent.
Oh, they flog a dead horse. It's like 6 seasons in and you're like,
yes, I know. Yeah.
Wrap it up. But that's because there's more money involved. It's a completely different set of rules over here. It's just, and it took me a minute to wrap my head around that. I mean, I've been here for a long time now, but it's just different. It's completely different.
Yeah, and I think the downside to that for me is when I'm sitting there watching Netflix or something, you kind of think I know this isn't going to end because I know they're going to strangle another 4 series out of it. So, it's when you get to, the season finale, it's not going to be, you're not going to get a satisfactory ending out of so many things these days.
I guess it just depends what platform it's on, what network it's on, it just depends. Nothing's black and white.
Now, you do call America your home now. How long have you lived in the United States?
Really almost 20 years, but 15, nearly 20 years.
I read, so this might not be true, I read that you and Jack and Harry are now Americans. You're naturalized citizens. And
Well, Harry was always an American. He was born in LA and he was our American baby, American child. And then we started to get a little bit nervous about this year because this is a bit of a funky election year. And we just got a little bit nervous about having a different status to Harry. And also my name is Gomez and his is Davenport, and I would be questioned a few times at the airport. So we decided to become citizens so that there would be no argument if and when things happen, depending on what happens in November over here. So Harry actually swore us in on the day. He swore us and I think 42 other countries in on the day that we were being naturalized, it's called, becoming citizens. So that was kind of mind-blowing. And it also happened on Jack's birthday.
Oh, lovely.
So it was quite a remarkable day.
And are your parents still around? Do you get back to Scotland much?
No, they had the good grace of dying young, so we don't need to worry about them in our middle age.
That's a very pragmatic way of looking at it, Michelle. That's very, very honest.
Always.
Let me just ask you before we wrap up. I want to talk about the Flight Attendant because my wife Becky loved it, and I said I was speaking to you, and she says, "Oh, Michelle is great in that." I mean, that must have been a good show to do that because I loved the Flight Attendant. That was super.
Oh, it was brilliant. Kelly Porco, are you kidding me? She's just, wow, what a life force. Finally I met somebody that, had more energy than I did. That was an absolute blast. I loved it. It was brilliant. And actually took us into and through the pandemic, that show.
Did you read for that? Or was...
Did I? Yeah. I went on tape for it because I was in Vancouver doing Sabrina. And this casting came up and I read for it. And then luckily, Steve Yockey, who's the showrunner on that, is a big Doctor Who fan. Quite liked Missy. So he was like, oh, I'll have her. So I was so great. Again, Missy. Missy is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I'll bet.
And because of that, Steve then went on to Doom Patrol. So then he took me on to that next show, was Doom Patrol.
You did 21 episodes of Doom Patrol. Does that take up a lot of your time?
Yeah, that's in Atlanta, so at least it's in the same country and it's not that far to fly. It's domestic flight, so that's made that all much easier.
I know you said that you and Jack try to flip flop on the work. Have you ever worked with Jack, or would you like to work with Jack?
No, and no.
Okay.
It's a question of keeping, church and state separate.
I like that.
Have to talk to him about the dishwasher. Don't want to talk to him on set as well.
That's brilliant. Michelle, thank you for today. I've really enjoyed chatting with you. Thank you for joining the Scots Care podcast. It means a lot to us. Yes.
Well, I'm a proud Scot. I'll always be, even if my name's Gomez. Still McGomez.
McGomez. Even if you don't like haggis.
No, it's awful.
Well, I'm a vegetarian these days, so I've had vegetarian haggis, and that seems all right.
I don't mind vegetarian haggis. Yes, I've had that, but we used to serve haggis at Bamsey House, so it was like no.
No, I'm sure it's all more sanitized now. It's just
right.
I don't want to have to explain to my kids what's in a haggis. Yeah, it's just
ever.
Thank you, Michelle. Speak to you later.
Oh, bye. See you later. This is awkward.
No. Thank you.
You hang up. No, you hang up.
Oh.
Scots Care. Supporting Scots in need in London. You can make a real difference to our clients through a monthly donation of any amount. Simply visit scotscare.com and click donate to get started.